Welcome to day 5 of our 40 days of prayer. Have you found yourself in this situation? You're at the supermarket, you're going through the aisles, about to check out. You look into your cart and you realize that you put way too many things in there, and there's things in there that you don't really need. I found myself doing that a couple of weeks ago, and I was really confronted with this reality of grabbing things I didn't need, and I asked myself, why am I doing this? And I realized that I was going with the motion of the crowd. As you've experienced and seen shelves being emptied out and people grabbing what they could, we kind of followed that pattern, or could have followed that pattern. And that idea of self-preservation is usually preceded by fear during a crisis. Now, fear can be a good thing. It could keep us from harm and it keep us from danger. But at times it can lead us to do things that at times make sense, but are really irrational. You know, this goes all the way back to the story of Adam and Eve, where they went outside of God's plan and made their own path. And the result of that was them experiencing fear and going through self-preservation for the first time in their existence. We've been dealing with that ever since. And so God's not foreign to that, and Jesus isn't either. As a matter of fact, during Jesus' time, there was a man that came up to him and said, Jesus, what do I need to do to preserve my life? How do I live longer and better? And so Jesus goes into this story about a man who was going on a journey, and he got robbed, beat up, and left to die on the side of the road. As he's laying there, there's this priest that comes by that's going to church. He looks at the man bleeding out and he says, nope, not today, and he goes to church. The Levite, which is the next person that comes by, is also a person that served in the church and led in the church. And he sees the man bleeding out and he says, nope, not today. He crosses over to the other side of the road and keeps on going his way. Then Jesus says there's a third man. There's a Samaritan. Samaritans were a group of people that Jewish people hated, that didn't respect. And Jesus says that this is the man that stops. He becomes vulnerable to this man's needs. He becomes vulnerable to the situation, because that's the same spot where this other man got robbed and beat up. And he not only tends to his wounds and meets his needs, but he puts him on his donkey and he carries him to get professional help. The story says that not only did he take him there, but he paid for the expenses. And he gives instructions before he leaves. He says, whatever this man needs, make sure that he gets it. And when I get back, I will make sure that I pay the debt. You see, the point that Jesus was trying to prove that day is that it doesn't take an expert to understand what it means to love God and what it means to love others. As we're going through these 40 days of prayer, I'm going to encourage you to keep doing it. And if you're not doing it, to sign up. But as we pray, God begins to work in our hearts. He helps us understand how much He loves us, and at the same time, how He desires us to love others. You see, God just doesn't want us to love other people. He wants us to love them how He loves them. He wants us to love them how He loves us. And Jesus was willing to sacrifice everything for us. You see, the goal in life is not to preserve life. Jesus once said that whoever tries to save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will gain it. And so I think right now we have an opportunity to help those that are in need, to go out of our way, to become vulnerable, and to help those that need food, or those that need a word of encouragement, or those that just need a listening ear, for those that need a positive text message or a positive video today in their life. I believe God is calling the church today to not just profess what we believe, but to live it. So will we allow God today to lead us to the people that need our help, that need our words of encouragement, and that need Jesus? I hope we will.